Good evening. I'm your host, Dan Stafford, with the Midwestern Geek in Cali podcast. Podcasting from 42 Tardis Way here in lovely Temecula, California. And the only thing I'm drinking tonight is a little bit of ginger beer from Aldi's Summit Ginger Beer. It's non-alcoholic, but it's brewed. Think of it as really super strong ginger ale, and it is really good if you're into that. So, having fun. I've been working and going to school all week this past week, so I haven't had any time for any of this. It's pretty much get up in the morning, go do an hour of school, work. It's a total of 9 hours, 8 hours plus lunch, and then do another hour of school, and then come home, kind of get settled in, and do school until it's time to go to bed, and then turn around and do it all over again the next morning. So it's been like that all week, except for Friday was 9 to 1, and then I had a couple of things to help folks with. One friend of mine needed some recommendations for some discount PCs with pretty decent hardware, so I did a little bit of computer shopping for him and sent him some recommendations on that. And then I had another friend that was having an issue with a WordPress website I maintain. That would be my friend Charles, who runs Inland Empire Sports and News, iesportsnews.com. I'm the webmaster for that site. Basically I maintain it, help him deal with the hosting company and issues. I also have been teaching him how to use WordPress so he can do the posting and content creation, and I do like the back-end technical support for that. I've been doing that with Charles and IE Sports News for about 2.5, almost 3 years now. It's been a while. Rebuilt the website a couple of times. First time it was because his previous webmaster had kind of split the scene, and he was locked out, and it needed to be done better anyway. So basically captured the content, got recovered access to the website, captured all the content, and rebuilt the website in WordPress. Second time around was because he needed a better hosting company. The host that he was on was trying to charge him, like big time for things that they shouldn't have been. And so we moved him to a different hosting company, completely migrated the site. He was down for 2 days because of the actions of the prior hosting company. And for a news website, that's difficult. He averages, I want to say, about 40K hits a month on the website, and probably another 100,000 on his Facebook page. He's got a lot of traffic. He's very local, focused on local sports, high school sports mostly, like girls baseball, volleyball, basketball, football, boys too, all that stuff. Really great guy. He also does, like local news reporting, crime activity and stuff. And the two of us tend to go and cover, like smaller Comic-Cons, and we're going to be probably doing Anime Expo next month, and we might be able to squeak in a new Comic-Con over in Palm Springs, PS Comic Expo, and it looks pretty interesting, and they're just getting started up, and that's not too far from here, so I'm really kind of hoping to be able to make it over there next week, Friday. I need to do a little bit of work later tonight on getting access to be able to go, but that's a hopeful thing. And of course, after I got done with school today, it's like all school on Saturday for me, 9 to 5. and then we had to go do all the grocery shopping. We just got done with that now, so it's been a kind of a big haul. It's been overdue for a little bit. We've gone to 2 stores this evening. Luckily, it's been a cooler day today, but it was nice and hot out here in what I love to call 42 TARDIS Way, which is, yes, my garage, obviously. I mean, you can see the stuff on the wall behind me and my wife's car, and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I'm working on that. I'm working on the view. I have something in mind, but I can't quite pull it off yet. But good news, I'm going to school, as some of you may know, for IT certifications. I got my PC Pro from Test Out and my CompTIA A+ last month. Right now, I am studying Test Out Client Pro and Microsoft Windows 10 Client, which would be 3 certifications if I can manage to do them all. Probably looking at another month and a half for those. And then I'll be getting into Microsoft Server. Well, I also have 21 and a half years of telecommunications experience. I have a vocational diploma in aircraft electronics. I have an FCC license for radio communications, and I'm an IT officer with the local Civil Air Patrol Squadron, and also assistant communications officer for the squadron, radio communications as in. And my FCC license is a lifetime license. As long as I don't mess up, I get to keep it. And that license is required, and I got it during the aircraft electronics school. It's required for transmitters that broadcast across international boundaries by treaty. That's why it's federal license, FCC. And that would include terrestrial radio stations that can broadcast across international borders. It would also include aircraft transmitters, because aircraft go flying internationally across national borders. And I also have an endorsement for ship radar, and obviously shipping traffic is international as well, by its very nature. So all the above, and now I've got it all opened up in here with some fans going, so if it sounds like an old propeller airplane in the background, boy, wouldn't that be fun. But that's because I've got a couple of fans going to pull all the hot air out. It's nice and cool outside, and it needs to get cool down in here. So I figured this was a good time, because I need to be out here with all this opened up. And I figured it was a good time to come out and say hello to everyone, to all my subscribers and whoever else happens to cross the video. Very interesting news this week. There's been some news on 5G. They're expecting the first 5G devices to start coming online at the end of 2018. They're expecting to be these devices at first called pucks. They're like the size of a hockey puck, and basically they're 5G access that you can plug into a USB port, kind of like a my Passport or a cellular plug-in. Only they'll be running at gigabit speeds, not this like 10 meg or 15 meg, 10 meg, try 100 times that. Anyway, it should be really nice when it comes online and you can actually use it. Gigabit would be great. And they're going to have some kind of interesting competition in a couple of years too. I mean, 5G is really going to be going full swing probably 2020, 2021. But it's going to start by the end of this year, coming online. And those kinds of speeds are going to enable a lot of technological advances that people might not be aware of yet. It's really going to make it easier for self-driving cars to have real-time access to traffic that's around them. Especially when you take into account IP version 6, because IP version 6 has so many IP addresses to it that you can assign an individual IP address to pretty much every atom on the surface of the Earth and still have enough IP addresses for another 100 planets. I mean, it is seriously a large, large, large number of IP addresses available. So there won't be any shortage of those, and all these communications with the cars, they'll actually be able to communicate with each other to say, hey, I'm going this way, where are you going? You know, that kind of stuff coming down the pipe. So there's that. And then there are a couple of consortiums going on with big names like Musk and Branson involved in them that are working on putting up a couple of constellations of low Earth orbit satellites that do internet service, but they're not going to be like the current satellite internet. Low Earth orbit is like 150 miles up. Current satellite internet service uses a very few satellites that are in geosynchronous orbit. That's about 20, I believe it's about 22,500, 25,000 miles up in that range. Low Earth orbit, 150 miles. What that does is it way reduces the delay in the internet request. So if you make a request over the internet, instead of having to travel 25,000 miles up, 25,000 miles back down, and then do it with the outgoing request, and then turn around with the response going 25,000 miles up and then 25,000 miles down, that's a 100,000 mile round trip. Now, low Earth orbit, 150 miles up, 1,000 different satellites, it's only got to go up 150, down 150, back up 150, down 150. That's 600 miles compared to 100,000 miles. So as you can see, it's going to way reduce the delay. Plus you're closer to the satellite, so the speed and signal will be stronger. You're talking gigabit internet from these low Earth orbit satellite constellations for probably $7 to $10 a month. That pretty sweet, eh? I'm thinking that is going to raise some serious issues for cell carriers, long distance carriers, old school telecommunications. And if they keep putting up more satellites doing that and they're successful at it, that could really be a game changer for multiple industries. So all that, and then they just, the FCC just, how do I want to say this? The rules that the FCC had in place previously called net neutrality, that forced internet service providers to treat all internet traffic equally. So if you were a little personal website crossing their networks, you got equal access to bandwidth and equal priority crossing those networks with a big corporation like Amazon. Now, unless you pay for it, your site, if you're a little small personal site, is probably going to take so long to load that people are going to bail. I mean, think about it. If they put you on the back burner on the web, and you can't afford to pay to be, you know, up front in the high speed lane, people, how long do they sit on a website and wait for it to load these days? How long? Second? Maybe? 1 second? 2 seconds is slow loading for a website in this day and age. Now, you're talking a website that might not load for 2-3 minutes? That's net neutrality. That's what net neutrality does. So, then again, even if you can pay to be in the fast lane, if the carriers don't like what you're putting across the lane, and they don't like what you're saying, they can say, Ixnay, no way, we don't want your money, go away. You know. Anyway, that's the internet world that we live in now. The only state in the country right now where there's a state level regulation regarding net neutrality is in Washington State. New York's trying to implement it at the state level. California's trying to implement it at the state level, and there are several others. And to be honest, I think net neutrality is a very important thing, because no matter who you are, you know, internet access is a necessity of life in this day and age. You cannot function as a business without internet access. You also can't have real, true freedom of speech without internet access, no matter who you are, or what you think, or what you're saying. I mean, trying to do it on paper, just those days are gone, long gone. So it's an interesting world. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I have my doubts it's going to be very good, but maybe there'll be some good players out there that will help remediate the situation some. But when money's involved, you know, big money, I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I think net neutrality being gone is going to be not very good for the average Joe on the internet. Just saying. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. Anyway, so that's where things are at. Oh, the other piece of news. I mentioned I've been working and going to school. I got hired by my IT school to be a part-time instructor to fill in when the full-time instructors are on vacation or sick. And I'm really, really liking it. I'm going to be covering 3 campuses, fill in. Of course, I'm still going through my certification programs. I expect to be doing my own certification courses through at least the end of this year, and then I'm probably going to maintain at least a 1 cert a year, you know, continuing education in information technology, because technology changes, etc. Keeping your certs up to date and not expired, etc. You know, I'll probably be doing that for as long as I still have the mind to be able to handle it. And, you know, that's what I was looking for. But good news. I'm really liking it. You know, I like being able to help people with tech. It's one of my favorite things to do, to be able to show people how to do things, more effectively, how to do things online more safely, how to take care of their computers, how to take care of their websites. I love that kind of stuff. And a lot of the students are vets. I'm a vet, you know, by the way. And I think it's good to take care of the people who have served our country. And I'm really proud to help out with that in any way that I possibly can. You know, I think it's a good thing, and I think we need more tech workers, so training more tech workers just on that level alone, it's a really good thing. You know, just that. And being able to do it for a lot of vets, that's even better. You know, in my book, that is a good thing to do. You know, that and Civil Air Patrol. I don't know how many of you know about Civil Air Patrol. Some of you might. But what they do is they have 3 basic missions. Now, Civil Air Patrol is an all-volunteer force. It's actually an auxiliary of the United States Air Force, but it's not got a combat mission role. It doesn't do that, and it's all unpaid volunteers. What Civil Air Patrol does is, number one, they teach aerospace education to the public and to members of the Civil Air Patrol. They put on presentations at school with the history of aviation and aviation basic principles, all kinds of things. Very good stuff. They have a cadet program similar to ROTC but geared towards the Air Force. And they also do 95% of all civil aviation search and rescue. So if you're flying around with somebody in a Cessna or even a Learjet or helicopter or something like that, and that bird goes down or goes off the radar, odds are very, very high that it's going to be the Civil Air Patrol in your state that is out there looking to find out where you are and where your emergency locator beacon is. And if you're still able to be helped, get help to you. They have both, they have the world's largest civilian air fleet, and they also field ground crews that go out on foot and working with the aircraft in tandem to look for people. Now, to me, that's a mission that I can support. You know, emergency services like that, going out and actually helping people. They also, you know, take aerial surveys, like after natural disasters. For instance, they were taking aerial surveys after Hurricane Harvey hit Houston. And what that does is it helps people get disaster relief. So now FEMA and other government agencies can both assess the amount of damage, but they can also go on a block by block level and they can say, okay, here's a Google Earth picture of that house as it was a few months ago, and here's a picture from yesterday of the flat spot where the house used to be. Oh yeah, you're going to get some emergency disaster relief funds to help you rebuild. So that's another thing that they do. So to me, volunteering to do this is a good way to give back to the community. And if you're more interested in finding out any more about Civil Air Patrol in your area, the national website is gocivilairpatrol.com. I recommend going to the website, taking a look, and checking them out. They're a good outfit to go to. They're a good place to volunteer and give back, and they need help in all different kinds of fields. So you know, there's not just communications and IT, but there's also, they need safety officers, they need people that do finance, they need people that do legal, they need people that fly, they need people that can back up the pilot in the aircraft, they need people that can go out on the ground searching for people. They need people that can handle clerical duties. They need people that do training. You know, it's a really good form of giving back to the community. So I would just recommend go check them out. Again, it's gocivilairpatrol.com. And I think that's probably enough for tonight. As always, you can find us online. Our website's at www.midwesterngeekandcali.com, and we're on Twitter at MidwestGeekCali, and then also on Facebook there's a Midwestern Geek and Cali discussion group. Appreciate it if you stop in, you know, make a request to join the discussion group on Facebook. You're welcome to you know, comment back and forth, post comments on the posts on the website, you know, shout at me on Twitter, shout at me on YouTube, whatever you care to do. I'm always up for feedback. Even if your opinion differs, I respect that, because not everybody thinks the same. So, you know, I think the world is a better place for having multiple viewpoints in it, and I think we should be able to, you know, live with that and do well. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I really need to talk about tonight, and probably not. I really should wrap this up and go get a little rest I've got a few things to take care of around the house tomorrow, and then Monday it's back at it. So thank you all for listening and spending a little time with me. I appreciate all of you, each and every one. And again, happy Vulcan fingers to you, and may there never be a rogue wave in your coffee mug. The agent of 42 signing out.